Hey everybody, how's it going? Anthony Alfredo here. Back with the post-race Q&As finally, now that we're back in the seat of the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Chevrolet Camaro for Richard Childress Racing, the number 21 machine. It was a pleasure to head to Dover for the doubleheader and get to run both races. I was really excited we were able to do that. Wow, I was really loud. I got to turn that down. Thank you for subscribing though, Brendan. I appreciate you renewing. That's 6 months now, half a year. It's phenomenal. But everyone's support means so much to me. It was really cool, like I said, to get back into the car with RCR. Everyone there has been working really hard, and I was out of the seat for a while. Fortunately, I did get to go run that ARCA race at Michigan for DGR Crosley, which was definitely helpful because I would have been out of a car for probably 4 or 5 weeks, I think it would have been. So to go do that in the middle and drive something was definitely helpful, but nonetheless, to get back in the Xfinity Series was great opportunity because we still have a handful of races left. Nice to get back in the swing of things and to run 2 races back to back to get back in a rhythm, especially at a place like Dover, is very challenging. And that's what we're here for today, the post-race Q&A. And I actually have a awesome podcast interview at 7, not long after this, with some of our friends from Anderson's Pure Maple Syrup and some of their friends. It's their podcast. So it's going to be a great time, but we're going to get our Q&A rolling. So I'm curious to see what questions you guys have after Dover this week. Sorry, my hair's all like dry looking and staticky, frizzy. I guess is that how you say it? I don't have any matte gel or product in it. But anyways, yeah, I wanted to answer your guys' questions about the weekend. Obviously, there's 2 races, so we don't really have to go by race 1 or race 2. You could just ask away, and we'll go as we, I guess, answer them as we go. I don't know why that was so difficult for me to say. I'm sorry about that. But, yeah, so if you have a question about a specific race, maybe mention which race in particular that is. However, nonetheless, thank you everyone for being here, and we'll get these questions rolling in here now. They're popping up on the screen as well, and I don't want to miss any questions from Twitter, so let me pull up, where are they? Right here. Here we go. Chat. Open in browser. Okay, I gotta get the restream chat up. Alright, sorry about that. There we go. I got that chat, just in case I miss any questions from Periscope on Twitter, because the rest of them are coming in through Twitch. Alright, Adrian, what were some of the things you learned from race 1 that you tried to use for race 2 over the weekend? Great question, because that is something that's probably been the number one question for each doubleheader race weekend that we've had so far and that I've been a part of. I think the first being just how to get around the racetrack and the general characteristics of the track, what you're going to fight, short run versus long run, how the track changes itself throughout the day, how you need to drive the track, your line, and all sorts of things like that, restarts. You just get to practice a bunch of things. So there's definitely a lot from behind the wheel as a driver that I learned, and that just includes, like I said, the driving style, getting around the track, which line I need to be in, how exactly to drive the track, how and where to pass, things like that. We also made a lot of adjustments heading into the second day, so that kind of led to me having to drive the car a little bit differently, so to speak, for the better, though. We definitely made some positive adjustments overnight, which we were able to have a better day the second day. Even though the end result wasn't better than the first day, we definitely had a much better race. To run you guys through the first race, we did finish 11th, just outside the top 10, which I was super bummed about. I was hoping I'd get that top 10 finish there at the end. Just needed a few more laps, it seemed. But we definitely struggled from the beginning. I think we didn't have the car quite where it needed to be, but it was more so me getting used to the track. I'd put that out of all the tracks we've been to with no practice, which is all of them except for my first race at Auto Club Speedway this year, I would put Dover right up there with Darlington. Extremely challenging with no practice. It's not as technical as Darlington is as far as how you get around the track, but just knowing what you need on short run versus long run, and just how to time your passes and carry your momentum. So many things that are really hard to feel out with no practice, and just, you only have so much time to communicate too. That was something I was struggling with my crew chief, was it being a shorter track, unlike the intermediate tracks, you don't have as much time to explain what you're fighting and what adjustments you need. And I was trying to explain as much as possible because I was learning so much and so much was happening, but we didn't have enough time to do that. So it just kind of, it took us throughout the race to get better, and that includes me behind the wheel. And we did that. Still had a really solid day, honestly. We had to start in the back just because the new performance-based algorithm and the driver swap, since I got into the car this week and someone else had driven the 21 car last week at the Daytona road course, that put us in the back to start the race. And we clawed our way out of there and ended up, like I said, having a solid day. The second day we finished 13th, but I say it's a much better day because we should have started 5th based on the invert, which would have been huge because we fired off pretty well on Sunday, I thought. To be honest with you, I thought we were going to be able to drive up to the lead with the cars that were in front of us. Don't know if we could have held off a handful of cars like the 98, the 10, and the 7, but I think we could have stayed in the top 4 to 7 all day because the track position's huge at Dover. It's big everywhere, but it plays a tremendous factor at Dover. It's crazy how much it means there, not only because of the handling of your race car, but you just automatically go faster without even trying or realizing it, which happens at a lot of tracks, but you could literally be running 5th instead of 10th and be going multiple tenths of a second or a quarter of a second faster a lap. So that was kind of interesting and just something we fought, and I didn't even explain. So we were supposed to start 5th, but we had to start in the rear again the second day because when they gave the command to fire engines, they started the car up and had no power steering. So we had to check that out, and we couldn't figure out what it was. They were going to send me around one more lap and come back down to fix it. And when I drove off pit road, I was halfway down the backstretch, almost ready to come back down pit road, and it just randomly came back. And because we had pitted under the pace laps, we had to start at the rear, which was extremely frustrating. But I'll get back to some of the questions now. I gave a brief rundown. Joey fan. Joey says, Will you please quit hoarding all the Alfredo sheet metal so RCR can sell us some on the website? This is the only piece I have right here is the door from the Iracing car at Homestead. Behind that is a door for my truck last year. I have a K&N fender and then a late model door. So I'm not hoarding anything. The people who are getting are our sponsors. Death Wish got a piece from their car at Texas, of course. Iracing got the other pieces from Homestead. I'm trying to think what else there was. There hasn't been too much sheet metal this year, thankfully. As much as everyone loves having a piece of sheet metal in their house or garage or to hang up on the wall, we all know that usually that means something bad happened that weekend. Unless for some random reason the car's perfectly spotless and you just happen to replace a body panel or update the body. I'm going to turn this light on and try to make it better. That's way too bright, isn't it? Let me go down. Now I'm not focused. Okay, there we go. Ew, I usually do this, but this looks so yellow, does it not? Yeah, I gotta stick with this. Wait a minute. Look at all these... Why? Who would use this as orange? And this is the one I normally use, but that looks hideous. Alright. That's good enough. We don't want it too bright in here. Brendan asks, did you enjoy driving into the corner or launching out of it more this weekend? That's a really good question. So a lot of you may or may not know that Dover has one of the biggest transitions into the corner, especially it has some of the highest banking out of many of the tracks, but the other thing is that unlike most tracks where the corners, the straightaways here and the corners built up like this and you kind of drive into it, at Dover, the corner's actually below the straightaway like this, so you fall down into the banking and it feels like you're on a roller coaster. Your stomach kind of lifts up a little bit and you get that light in your chest feeling. And then when you land and the car compresses and you're under max load, pulling so many G's, it just feels so cool, so crazy. It's such an adrenaline rush, and it's actually difficult to breathe a little bit until you kind of get comfortable. You're grabbing the wheels so hard, hanging on, so you got to get into a rhythm and just kind of relax a little bit once you get going. So it's definitely fun sailing it off into turn 1 or turn 3. And dropping down and feeling that compression, and it's really fun when you launch out of the corner and you have just all this speed and you're going so fast there. There's so much banking and all that compression. You're allowed to carry so much speed, and as you mentioned, launch out of the corner with even more and down the straightaways you go. It's really cool, especially when you run the top. When you rip the top there, the groove's interesting how it kind of moves back and forth from top to bottom throughout a long run, like in the final stage of the Xfinity Series race. It's pretty awesome because when you're on the top, you're making the straightaways so much longer, and you really can sense how fast you're going, or have a more I guess it's more sensitive, the speed, so to speak. That sensation of speed you have is much greater when you're running the top. What exactly happened to the power steering? We figured it out. It was actually just an issue with the power steering pump. It was a freak thing, actually. It just got messed up in between. I mean, we always check the steering. Or my engine guy does when he fires up the engine before, when the car is sitting on pit road. He always checks the steering, and it was fine. I got in, and just something got hung up and let itself go later on. So it was pretty odd, but one of those freak things, just like the window net falling down, and just like the steering wheel coming unhooked. Like, all this crazy stuff has happened with just me in the car this year so far, but fortunately, we've been able to run all our races that those things have happened in, but it definitely has had an effect on our overall performance, I would say, because we just started off with so much less track position. There's some cars who were set up, they were so close to perfect, and they were able to get through traffic so well, which is very difficult to do at Dover. And I think we were really close to where we needed to be on Sunday. A lot better from Saturday, especially just from the information I communicated and what I learned the first day to help us as a team get better. And we did fire off better. We stayed on top of it throughout the day. My crew chief, Andy Street, made great adjustments. Derek Nealon on the spotter stand really helped me kind of understand the track, the way the groove was moving around, just kept me informed about a lot of things and helped coach me through the track. So I think we were closer, but maybe not good enough to win. But I definitely, like I said earlier, top 4 to 7, I think we could have stayed in all day if we had that track position, which we would have if we didn't have the power steering issue and have to start in the back. So that was definitely challenging for sure. How much different was the track day to day running at about the same time? Nicely's asks that question. So I would say Sunday, it was Dover always kind of has the same transition throughout the day, or as rubber gets laid down, to my knowledge, and the way the balance changes throughout the course of a run, which is mainly because of, like I said, it's a concrete racetrack. The rubber gets laid down. And under caution, it actually, as the cars go around, they actually pick all that rubber back up. So essentially, the racetrack's back to a green racetrack, as you often hear the announcers say after it rains or something like that, and cleans the rubber off, a pavement or asphalt track. But at the concrete track, the tire just pick it up, and it's like restarting on a green track every single time. So it can really affect your short run, and then throughout your long run, your balance can change significantly. But I wouldn't say it was different so much day to day, other than it being much hotter Sunday. I thought it was, at least. I felt the same in the car, but just being outside, it was definitely hotter. I think, if anything, the difference in the way the track fell and the way rubber laid down and affected our balance was because of the changes we made overnight and how our car just handled differently. I'd say that was the biggest thing. Billy the Kid asks, are you ready for Daytona? I absolutely am ready for Daytona. My first trip there, or not my first trip there, but my first race actually on the big track, on the oval at Daytona. It's going to be a phenomenal experience, and I'm going down there with a really great feeling. I am super excited about this weekend. We have another new sponsor in the car that I'm excited to announce later this week, and like I said, I just have a good feeling about this weekend. I hope that we can sneak or snag our first win of the year down there. That would be really cool at a place like that. And I definitely think it's possible with RCR's Super Speedway program, especially how we performed at Talladega Super Speedway earlier this year. Our Chevy Camaros have been fast all year, and there's a lot of really good tracks for us. But I would say the super speedways, we kind of go there with the expectation that we're going to be as fast as Xfinity Internet and be able to get it done. So that's definitely one we've had circled on the calendar, and especially to be racing under the lights there is going to be super cool. I wish there was fans there, or there will be some fans, which is very exciting. I wish everyone could be there, but I know those who can't be will be watching. So it's going to be really cool to have some people there to hopefully share my first win experience with, because that's what we're hoping to go do, and just praying to God He watches over us, allows us to have a safe, successful race, and by the end we can be first to the start-finish line. First race at Daytona, Crazy Carter says, good luck. Any idea whether you plan on being patient at the back until the end or trying to run up front all race? Interesting. So at a super speedway, you can go into it with a plan, but so many things happen that are out of your control. And this applies to any race, actually, not just super speedways. Things change as it goes. Strategy changes as it goes, especially with the way cautions may fall or what, where you are track position wise. But we do obviously have teammates, because I'm driving for Richard Childress Racing, but our affiliates down at Iracing are going to have 3 cars in the race as well. Justin Haley and Ross Chastain in the 10 and 11 car, who've been running all year, and then AJ Allmendinger's back in the 16, I believe. So that's going to allow us to have 4 cars essentially, just like Talladega and actually Daytona earlier in the year, but I wasn't in the car for that one. To work together and try to keep our Chevrolets up front the whole race. I think we could do that. I think our cars are fast enough that it's better for us just to be up front, not only maintain that track position, but manage the race, manage each line, and just try to be there when it matters most at the end. But being up there throughout the race is definitely huge, because that track position can pay massive dividends. But at the same time, I think I'm starting, I don't know actually, because I haven't heard, but I'm going to go ahead and assume it's somewhere in the top 15, probably between 10th and 15th, just based on last weekend, because I think they're doing that performance-based algorithm again. And if that's the case, it's not that big of a deal. We started 12th at Talladega, and we were in second in probably, 3 to 5 laps, and we were leading the thing in just a couple more than that. But we rode in second for quite a while behind our teammates, so we weren't in too big of a rush. That was, one of our colleague affiliates as well, as I mentioned before. So we'll be working together for sure, and it's always interesting to see how those races shake out. But fun fact, the 2012 Daytona 500 was actually my first race, and as a fan that I attended. So I'm really excited to go to Daytona, because even though it's not February, the first race of the year, just to be racing at Daytona for the first time, where my first race as a fan was being in those grandstands, and now being on the racetracks, I already have goosebumps thinking about it. I can't imagine how it's going to feel taking the green flag with no practice and no qualifying. It's going to be wild. I want to make sure I didn't miss any questions earlier. No. Okay. Drew asks, any talk about what might be the throwback scheme for Darlington? Absolutely, but I can't say what yet. I cannot wait for you guys to see that, though, for sure. It's going to be awesome, and you all are definitely going to love it. Orbit asks a great question. What did you do for recovery Saturday night into Sunday night? So between Saturday and Sunday, the biggest thing is just eating plenty of food, the right foods, not stuffing your face with junk, obviously, which is what we never try to do as race car drivers or as athletes, always trying to be healthy. But it's definitely important going into another race at somewhere so physically demanding. Dover's really hard on your body. It's a difficult track mentally as well. And to run 2 races there is not easy. So hydration and nutrition was big. I just tried to get as many fluids back in me, replenished after the first race. And of course, like I said, eat the right things, which is kind of difficult now. Time you can't dine out everywhere you want and kind of get exactly what you want. But fortunately, at Dover Downs, I was able to get a nice room service meal at least to help fuel me back up for the following day's race. K-Lap Jr. any update on a full-time ride next year? Unfortunately, I don't have an update for you guys on that. I really wish I did. We are working really hard and just trying to develop new relationships and grow our current relationships with our current partners and like I said, develop new relationships with new sponsors as well so that we can have enough funding to sign on for a full-time season. I definitely know what I want to do next year. It's go compete full-time for an Xfinity Series championship. I honestly believe that if I was running full-time this year and competing in every race, that we'd be in position to do that in the first quarter of the season or so. I had only run half the races or first third of the season, I'm sorry. I'd only run half the season. I was top 16 in points, which is what you have to be to make the playoffs. Obviously, I wasn't eligible because I didn't run all the races, but the fact that I was top 16 in driver's points says a lot just about our team as a whole, and I feel like that's something that hopefully can allow me to secure a full-time ride for next year so we can go points racing and have a shot at a championship and winning a bunch of races. Working hard on it, though, that's for sure. Every day. Each and every day. It's a grind. Let's see. What else we got? David says, hi, I miss you. Miss you too, David. It's good to be back on Twitch here streaming for you and on Periscope for those of you who are in there as well. Had the power steering not come back, would you have been able to finish? Honestly, it would have been very, very difficult. At Dover with no power steering, that would have been a huge challenge. We definitely would not have finished where we did because my arms probably would have felt like they were going to fall off. They almost did already because I ran the final stage, all 110 laps on the same set of tires. We pitted for fuel only with, 15 or 20 to go. But we were hoping on a caution. We had some strategy there that if we did get a caution, we would have been the only ones that hadn't pitted yet, had a set of tires laying. We would have been on the lead lap. Everyone else would have been a lap down. I think there was about 4 of us on that same strategy. So we would have restarted somewhere in the top 4 on new tires. And, man, we would have had a shot at, if not the win, top 5 probably. Or, I feel like top 7 at worst. It would have been huge. But, a good gamble, great strategy call by Andy Street to do all he can to put us in position because we had nothing to lose and we didn't lose anything else, really. We lost a couple spots. Might have finished 10th or 11th. At the end, I lost a couple more spots because when we put fuel in it, it got even looser when I was on old tires. It was very difficult to drive. But like I said, if the caution did fall our way, that strategy call would have been huge for us. We didn't, as I mentioned before, we didn't really lose anything much, if anything at all, and the gain would have been enormous if we did if the chips fell our way and we had some luck right there with a caution. But for those of you who don't know, also people always say, oh, back in the day they didn't have power steering. But if you have a car that has power steering and you lose power steering, like it stops functioning properly or runs out of fluids or something happens, it is harder to drive than a car that just doesn't have power steering to begin with, which is interesting. A lot of people don't realize that, but it's so hard to turn. You think it's locked up. Like, that's how difficult it is to turn the wheel. Obviously, when you pick up the speed and you have the banking and stuff, like, you can turn it, but at a place like Dover, that would be disastrous. I mean, that would have a very, very big impact. Very, very big negative impact on your day. Do you have any plans to do an iRacing stream? I do, actually. I was planning on tonight. I won't be able to, though, because after this I have that podcast interview I mentioned earlier, and then I also I'm going to watch the Nascar iRacing Coca-Cola Series race at Daytona tonight at 9. So I hope everyone tunes into that, but I will be streaming tomorrow, so it should be a lot of fun. Back in the SimSeats driving simulator to stream. That's right. Daytona's anyone's race to win. That is something interesting about super speedways, is that a lot of people have a lot of people have a shot to win there, right? Just because the way that racing is and the way the strategy plays out, the pack drafting, the speeds, the restriction on the motors, and just all those things. makes it a toss-up for who's going to be the race winner. And it makes it very exciting for the fans. It's even exciting as a driver, sometimes stressful and nerve-wracking, but hopefully it's not anyone's race to win. I'm hoping it's ours. That's what I'm praying for. Step 1, make the plan. Step 2, throw it out the window. That's right, Crazy Carter. That's often what happens. Who's your pick to win the Shake and Bake Cup Series race tonight at Rockingham? Josh, it's got to be you, man. For those of you who don't know, JA94 Racer asked that question. He's got his own Iracing League Shake and Bake Cup Series. And Josh has won. What have you won, Josh? 3 out of 4? Or something crazy like that? I'm picking you. I know you could get it done at the Rock. Got high hopes for you, kid. Josh is my my PR rep at RCR, for those of you who don't know. What's going on, Monteca? Any interest offers to drive a truck? Not now. I'm focused on the level I'm at. This is a higher level of competition, I would say, and it's a different, I shouldn't even say that, it's a different level of competition. The trucks and the Xfinity cars are so different from each other, but I will say I just want to focus on what I'm doing right now, which is driving these NASCAR Xfinity Series cars and competing for wins. I feel like I've proven I'm competitive, especially with the people around me. I've got great people around me, great partners, great team members, great equipment, just all the tools to succeed, in my opinion. So hopefully we can just kind of keep rolling with that, take advantage of the opportunity that God's blessed me with, and hopefully secure a full-time ride next year. Just got to keep trucking along, one day at a time. That's what my mom always tells me, one day at a time. Sometimes 1 minute at a time. Monteca says, back in the day they had manual racks. My current car is a hydraulic power steering, and I have it capped on both ends in the first 2 weeks like that. My arms killed me. Yeah, exactly. J Card, off racing topping. Do you like to stream other video games? I do. I like to stream Call of Duty. Sometimes like Minecraft's fun to do like a Q&A while playing or whatever and just chill. I did want to get into Valorant. I haven't even played it yet, but I want to try it. I like most FPS games as well, so that's why Call of Duty's always been top of my list. That's what got me into gaming in the beginning, was Call of Duty. That was one of my first video games. Your birthday's September 9th, David. Awesome. You have to remind me so I can wish you a happy birthday. Before you entered NASCAR, who was your favorite driver? Dale Earnhardt Jr. is probably my favorite driver growing up, which the fact that I drove for him, his team, Junior Motorsports, in the late model ranks and won a handful of races was really cool and a crazy experience still to this day. It was definitely surreal driving for, my childhood hero, and I would add a couple other guys to that list as well, like Jimmy Johnson, who I actually went to his house and built and installed a simulator for with sim seats. Jeff Gordon, they just coincidentally all drove for Hendrick Motorsports, but they're all legends of the sport and seem like really good people. And from what I know in my short time with a couple of them, just humble people who've had a lot of success is really cool, because it's not only is it special to see that nowadays, but it's also kind of what I look for in like a mentor or someone that I look up to, so to speak, still now as a driver in NASCAR, because I aspire to be that way, right? I want to be a role model to other people, younger people who have similar dreams or no matter what they want to pursue in their life, and people like that are the ones that are great influences, in my opinion. Overkill, your birthday September 14th. You want to watch your favorite driver on your birthday? I'll have to see. That's pretty far out right now. We kind of take it, as I mentioned before, one day at a time, mainly because of all the on-track stuff going on right now and all the racing I have coming up, which is really exciting. You can check that out at anthonyalfredo.com on the schedule tab. We got a lot in a row, which is exciting. As I mentioned, running 2 races back-to-back this weekend was great to get back in the swing of things and getting a little bit of a rhythm as we approach these next handful of races. But that is, like I said, a little bit further out. I kind of take it just as we go here and one day at a time. I keep saying that, but it's so true, especially with stuff like streaming. I try my best to stream every day, but I just try to fit it into my schedule somewhere. That's why the time of day is never, or I shouldn't say never, but it's usually not always super consistent. Zabel, when will we see some 21 diecast cars? Need to add to my collection. I know, I really want diecast this year. That'd be so cool, especially honestly, all of our cars have looked so good. We have not, every single car has looked so great, and they would make such awesome diecast, but as of now, I mean, I guess the only one I could think of would be a first win diecast. So I really need to just go win a race for you guys so diecasts go on the market. So let's try to do that this weekend at Daytona, right? Friday night under the lights at 7:30. Don't miss it on NBC Sports. NBCSN. I can't tell you exactly what channel because it depends on who your provider is and where you live, but the I can't tell you the channel number, but it is NBC Sports Network. David says, you made me want to be a NASCAR driver, and I'm starting with go-karting right now. That's fantastic, David. I love to hear it. I'm glad. I know it's difficult to stay caught up with the streaming thing, but it's something I really enjoy. Same with my YouTube channel, Anthony Alfredo, if you want to go check it out. It's just my name. But I've been uploading on there a lot more recently because I take stuff from my stream and upload it so you can go back and watch, or people who maybe miss the streams or don't watch the streams or just watch the YouTube videos, either or. But I've always enjoyed doing it. That's why I've been on here for a while now, but it's fun to do a lot of different things on Twitch, not just stream games, but do the Q&As like this and just chatting sessions, all sorts of games, obviously iRacing. It's been really cool for sure. It's a great platform, and I love being able to interact with you guys like this live. Perfect. RacingRoundup.net. You see that Josh just posted the link to it, so you can check out my interview tonight on the radio at 7. Racing Roundup show. It's gonna be a great time, and we'll talk about our friends at Anderson's Pure Maple Syrup, as well as how the year's been going with Richard Childress Racing, driving the number 21 Chevrolet Camaro for them, and talk about some of our upcoming races as well. All right, everyone. Well, we're probably a solid time to end the stream so I can get prepared for this radio interview, but I'm really looking forward to that, and I hope everyone gives it a listen. Thank you again for everyone's support. I really appreciate it. It means the world to me. I hope everyone enjoyed the stream. I love doing these Q&A sessions after each race. It's a lot of fun to answer your questions live. And don't ever hesitate to DM me on any social medias or in my Discord server, Fast Passa's official Discord, so that you can interact. And we got all kinds of cool stuff going on in there too, building our own community. But I'll be back streaming iRacing tomorrow. Should be a great time. And as I mentioned before, solid weekend for us to build on, especially heading into Daytona. Great to be back in the car, working with my guys over at Richard Childress Racing. We've got an awesome team, awesome Chevy Camaros, great cars, and we're looking to get down to Daytona and take the lead, stay up front, lead a bunch of laps, and lead the most important one, which is the last lap, so we could be first to that checkered flag and bring home some hardware, as they say. I want to see a big trophy in the back seat on my ride home and next to me on the airplane, that's for sure. Thank you, guys. I'll talk to you all later.